Hello, my name is Adam Amato. I just wanted to thank the Sapling Foundation for funding my program and the people at TED and TEDx for further promotion through this talk. I'm here to talk to you about my San Carlos Suicide Prevention Initiative that will be launching in August 2019 with all of our planning processes now being funded. We can begin that process. I want to talk to you a little bit about San Carlos itself. I grew up in Globe, Arizona, about 20 miles west of San Carlos. San Carlos is on the way to Safford, Arizona, another county seat. Globe is the county seat of Gila County. And through this program, we were hoping, if it's successful, to expand all throughout Gila County, as we have some of the most elevated suicide rates of the state. Out of the 17 counties in Arizona, Gila County is number 5 currently. I believe at the time of this presentation, we are only passed by counties such as Apache and Coconino for suicide rates, unfortunately ranging all the way up to 33.1 per 100,000. And the US average collectively is, I believe, 13.6 per 100,000. I apologize if that's incorrect, but that's the number I have here. So, starting off, San Carlos, it is a reservation, community, rural-based area. They do have a casino, which is one of the main sources of employment. However, it's nothing like the casinos we see in the Gila River area that are buying sports complexes and things like that. It's more of an isolated community out there. They do have a golf course, but again, this is 15 miles away from their schools. They do not have road markers. If you look for an address in San Carlos, it will say behind milepost X. It's also discouraging within this community knowing the average age is roughly 26 and a half for 4,400 people who are living, 53.6% of them are living in full poverty with an average annual income of $26,400, and their property rates are dropping in value as well. So it's a very difficult community to get ahead in, as well as the amount of people that are homeless or overcrowding within homes. Job opportunities are fairly scarce. Some of the residents of San Carlos have to find work in nearby Globe, and even at that, only 50% can commute that way, most choosing to carpool or walk. So this community, I'm focusing on the teenage demographic, especially high school. It will be totaling about 600 students between the two high schools in San Carlos. So discussing the problem of suicide itself in San Carlos, we have numerous risk factors that are reported for suicide, things such as alcohol and substance abuse rates. We know that collectively, the limited data I do have says that Native Americans and Alaskans would exceed the second highest rate of suicide in the world, and at the very top of the list with 34.3 per 100,000. Some of the rates for treatment for suicide survivors is very unrealistic. I came across a case of an individual who was high on methamphetamine and decided to stab himself in the heart. He was unsuccessful, came up within literally 1 inch of his life. This man needed detoxing treatment, psychological treatment, which totaled approximately $7,000 per month, which is frankly unaffordable for this demographic. If he chose not to do these things, if he had help, if he had community, and maybe such an initiative was in place some 10 years before this individual was only 26 years old, maybe this case would be different. So, thinking about $7,000 per month if I do survive a suicide, in this case, that would be roughly 26% of my whole income for the year. That's impossible to maintain. So it falls back on the San Carlos Apache tribe. And are they to blame for these initiatives? Perhaps not. There is also the San Carlos Apache Tribe Wellness Center, who are doing quite a wonderful job with what they have. And I would like to work alongside them with my own initiative here. They involve an after-school program, group education, follow up with AA meetings all the way up to ages 26, I believe now, and more, including helping students get their GED if they drop out. And this is something I don't want to address with my program, but I would like to group that together. So the science behind suicidal ideology is not something I'm qualified to discuss. I'm not a psychologist here, but what I do know is a positive community, positive environment goes a long way in preventing such things. So if we can at least offer an after-school program for these students and for the community, I feel it's a much better alternative. A lot of the high school students I know from the reservation during my time at Globe, they were, I don't want to say outcast by today's standards, but they did indulge in their fair share of cigarettes during lunchtime, and some even skipped class, and I knew of a few who would take their whiskey bottles and go behind the school. I'm not saying all of these students were limited to being from San Carlos. Globe has its fair share of problems as well. Globe itself has a 20% poverty rate, and there is not data for Globe and San Carlos as far as smoking rates, but for all of Gila County, approximately 18% of people do smoke cigarettes regularly, and that's only what's reported. That involves self-admission. There's some people I know that would care not to admit such a thing. But what's important about alcohol and smoking rates, they're associated with higher degrees of suicide. Suicide is 120 times more prevalent amongst adult alcoholics than in the general population. There's also all the death that's associated with drunk driving in these rural areas. It's unlike the urban sectors where we're constantly reminded with signs, speed traps, checkpoints. There's nothing really like that in place unless it's a holiday in Globe and the surrounding areas. And numerically, for every suicide, there's approximately 25 who have attempted suicide. And this is also troubling because we can't just say someone that's come to the hospital for self-harm, if that was intentional or not. They can lie. I've spent some time working at the hospital here in Banner, and we do suicide screenings for every single patient now. And one of the questions we ask is, have you ever thought about hurting yourself? And we ask this to every single patient, no matter the circumstance. Sometimes it makes them very uncomfortable. And if they're homeless, more often than not, I do see them lying about wanting to commit suicide just so they can be admitted and have a place to stay. So this data can be skewed as well. So moving forward with this initiative, I want us all to imagine what this program can do for the misrepresentative youth of San Carlos, Arizona, and hopefully we can look back and see this is a good thing for all of Gila County. Thank you.